Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. I've got 3 topics to share with you in this latest Moon Family Sedan Tepid Jam. I'll be starting with this one from the Crypto Basic. Fox Business's Gasparino bets Deaton on SEC win against Ripple. And so this article is based on a conversation on live television on Fox Business between attorney John Deaton and Fox Business journalist Charles Gasparino, in which they placed a bet on live television, which I thought was fun. Because they're kind of betting against each other in terms of how they think the SEC lawsuit's going to end. And I also wanted to share with you my thoughts in terms of the conclusion of the case, because Charles Gasparino actually shared the very article that I'm going to run through here, and then I responded to that with my thoughts. Then I have a very short update having to do with the Coinbase lawsuit that has been brought by attorney Fred Rispoli. I mentioned it in my very last video, but I've got it's just a truly short update because there hadn't been much discussed within our community about it recently anyway. But it has to do with the fact that Coinbase has not handed over to customers the SGB and the Flare tokens that they are deserved. And then there's also this headline from You Today. XRP, worth $93 million owed by FTX to customers, but there's one problem. Before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so into this first piece. Fox Business senior correspondent Charles Gasparino has bet attorney John Deaton that the United States Securities Exchange Commission would win in its case against Ripple. This happened on an episode of Clayman Countdown, aired yesterday. Notably, both parties bet a steak dinner on the outcome of the extended legal battle. Gasparino expressed that the general sentiment is that the regulator would win the case in light of Sam Bankman-Fried's alleged fraud and the collapse of his crypto empire. According to Gasparino, in light of the recent collapse, it would be bad optics for a judge to be on what appears to be the side of crypto. Quote, I think the SEC is going to win, and I tell you, it's going to be a bad day for crypto. End quote. So that's a quote from Charles Gasparino saying that he thinks the SEC is going to win and it's going to be a bad day for crypto. Now, I can't get into his head, so I don't know exactly what he thinks on any specific point that we could discuss on this topic. But the fact that he says he thinks the SEC is going to win, that in and of itself doesn't mean that he wants the SEC to win. In fact, he's been, by and large, pretty sympathetic to what's been going on within the XRP community just in a general sense. And I know not everybody's thrilled with everything that he said, and that's fine. I respect your opinion. For sure, I do. I really do. But I'm not so convinced that he wants the SEC to win. I think he's just given his open, honest opinion that he thinks the SEC is going to win. And I'm going to give you my perspective on this in just a minute, but let me go through this a little bit further. But I have some stuff to say on this. Anyway, piece continues. Deaton responded, quote, okay, we can bet dinner on that, end quote. On the other hand, Deaton, who represents thousands of XRP holders, maintains that he expects the SEC to lose at summary judgment, but still, he does not expect an outright win for Ripple. Quote, I think the SEC is going to lose, but that doesn't mean Ripple's going to get an outright win either, end quote. Recall that the attorney, in a past analysis, had asserted that the only victory the SEC would get in the Ripple case is that the blockchain payments company offered XRP as an unregistered security from 2013 to 2017, expecting the blockchain payments firm to pay a fine at most for this. And so that's possible, although those were under strict parameters that aren't cited within this article, because I know what they're talking about right here. And so you noted that might be the case, but that's if a specific set of parameters unfolded in a specific way. It'd be outside the scope of this video to go into that any further. I've covered it in previous videos, but still, it's an interesting bit. It'll be interesting to see who's correct here. And I wasn't surprised as soon as I saw that, because I saw the clip. I didn't see it live as it was being discussed, but I did see the clip later. I was like, okay, this is on national television. Everybody in the XRP community is paying attention. And as soon as I heard Charles Gasparino say the SEC is going to win, I was like, oh, okay, that's gonna that's gonna stir the pot a little bit. That's definitely gonna stir the pot a little bit. So I thought I'd jump in and share my perspective because I actually, in terms of whether I think the SEC will win or Ripple will win, it depends. Are you talking about at the district court level, or are you talking about if it goes all the way to the Supreme Court? Because if you're talking about just on the district court level, which is what they're talking about, I don't know what to predict, honestly. I mean, if I had to, I guess I'd lean in favor of Ripple, but I'm actually not convinced. And that doesn't mean that I want the SEC to win. You know me. XRP is my largest damn crypto holding, all right? Here's where I am willing to, plant my flag down. It's on the long-term viability of XRP. So this is the tweet where Charles Gasparino shared that story that I just ran through part of with you from the Crypto Basic. And then just several hours ago, I responded to Charles Gasparino's tweet there with some of my thoughts on this, because I think it's a fun point of discussion for the community. And I am not the least bit offended by the fact that he thinks the SEC is going to win. I think it's pretty silly if he thinks that, like they should win. It's because, again, if he thinks that Ripple should win, if he's venomous towards that, okay, that would be one thing. I'd be kind of surprised. I just haven't quite seen that from him. But anyway, so I responded and I wrote, I hope the SEC doesn't win, but it is possible. Even if they do, there could still be a path forward for XRP, just like we saw in the Library lawsuit. So I was paused to remind you guys, Library lost. Complete and utter devastation. Library is going to cease to exist. The company, anyway. Not the LBC token. That's going to continue to exist. It's decentralized. Good luck shutting that down. You don't want that to happen anyway, but I'm just saying. But anyway, in the remedies portion of that suit, the judge said, hey, we're not talking about secondary transactions here, so of course, my ruling here against Library has nothing to do with that. So LBC token gets to continue to live. And so that's why I was saying, even if we get a bad ruling, which is not what I want, and that's not what I think is most likely, but it could happen. Even if that happens, there can still be a path forward for XRP. We've already seen that happen in a separate case. That literally happened in January, the remedies portion here. And then I wrote, if the SEC wins at the district court level, I find it unlikely they'd be victorious if the case makes it to SCOTUS, which of course is Supreme Court of the United States. And look, and I've talked about why. And I noted it in the very next tweet. I wrote, I think Attorney Deaton's perspective that the Supreme Court would rule against the SEC makes a lot of sense. The current makeup of SCOTUS has little tolerance for government overreach. The SEC is trying novel theories that are outside the powers granted to them by Congress. Specifically, the embodiment theory, which asserts that XRP itself essentially represents an investment contract. There is no case law affirming such a thing at any point in history. The SEC is just making stuff up as it goes and seeing what sticks. Even so, it is absolutely true that Judge Torres could rule that certain Ripple sales constituted illegal, unregistered securities transactions. If that happens, I'd find such a ruling frustrating because the SEC has never cited any specific transactions infringe. So I was paused to note, and that's the thing, because if you think, as Charles Gasparino does, that the SEC is going to win, my next question is, on what grounds? What do you believe Judge Torres is going to argue that would make it so that Ripple deserves to lose? Like, what would the argument even be? And maybe it could be a number of things, I suppose, sure, but the one that jumps out at me here is Ripple, because obviously, what's at the heart of this? Ripple selling XRP. Oh, okay, but all Ripple transactions? All of Ripple's transactions with XRP, rather? Not likely. And that's why Attorney John Deaton was talking about perhaps, transactions from 2013 to 2018 could be cited. But see, that would bother me because the SEC is supposed to call out specific transactions. And so if the judge rules on something that the SEC isn't even specifically asked to be ruled on, I'd find that bothersome. That would make sense. But this is also why you saw Ripple at some point in I can't remember if it was 2019 or 2020 now, honestly. I want to say 2019, Ripple stopped their programmatic sales of XRP, and the only XRP that they sold specifically had to do with on-demand liquidity. So, for the functioning of their product. And I think that's because it would be so hard for the SEC to claim that those satisfy the Howey test. And I've talked about that in previous videos as well, so I don't want to really break the concept down any further. But I think that's why they did what they did. And I think that's also why you didn't see the SEC try to go for an injunction against Ripple, attempting to prevent them from selling XRP when the lawsuit came down back in 2020. Ripple has been allowed to sell XRP this whole time. And they're not doing programmatic sales, they're doing on-demand liquidity related sales. And the SEC hasn't tried to stop them, I think, for that reason. And then I wrapped up my thoughts by stating, I don't know if Ripple or the SEC will win, but I am optimistic there will be a path forward for XRP either way. I also think the odds the losing side appeals are quite high. We all find out soon enough. All right, quick update on the next topic, and this is truly brief, but I did want to mention it here. Somebody wrote, Fred, so this is Fred Rispoli, attorney, a member of the XRP community. It's Fred Rispoli who is bringing this lawsuit against Coinbase for not handing over customers SGB and Flare tokens, just harming XRP community holders outright. So this guy, Lord David Roberts, wrote, Fred, it's like a third of the way through March and we haven't heard anything. What's the deal? Are you doing it or are you not? And so he's asking, are you going forward with this lawsuit or are you not? Well, it's already been filed, but haven't heard anything in a while. So what's going on? That's effectively the question. And attorney Rispoli responded and wrote, we are, friend. Just had some additional people that wanted to join as named plaintiffs, and that takes a bit to work through. Amended complaint is incoming, and first email to those that indicated interest in joining the class will be sent out by end of day this Friday, which would be March 10th. So that's coming soon. So that's the only update, but I just wanted to mention it because there hadn't been anything stated within our community really on this topic in some time. And then there's this from you today. XRP worth $93 million owed by FTX to customers, but there's one problem. And so I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the figures here, but that's why I thought I'd run through this. Not so good. And, even Ripple is owed some XRP from FTX. So that's Sam Bankman-Fried, cucumber-loving son of a bitch. But the good news is with Ripple, it's like a minuscule fraction of the total value of their company. They've got over $1 billion in the bank, last they publicly stated anyway. So it's like a rounding error what they're losing here. But anyway, piece reads as follows. As a result of the release of a revised balance sheet for FTX's liabilities, it has been revealed that the infamous exchange owes its customers $93 million in XRP, among other things. The problem, however, is that FTX only has $12 million in XRP available on its balance sheet. Yeah, that's not exactly the best gap. In addition to tens of millions of dollars in debt to XRP investors, FTX, which was declared insolvent in November of 2022, owes about $8.7 billion in various other assets. The largest portion of this is in cash, $6.4 billion, and in Bitcoin, $1.6 billion. The biggest reaction from the crypto community has been over the latter, given that FTX only has $1 million worth of Bitcoin on its balance sheet. It is unclear how the repayment process will work for clients and whether XRP in particular will be refunded. Nevertheless, it may be recalled that FTX Japan announced earlier in late February that it had begun returning funds to customers after a freeze of several months. So we'll see what happens here. What a freaking train wreck here. I hope that he ends up in prison for a very, very, very long time, and I'm optimistic that will indeed be the case, Sam Bankman-Fried. But, man, it is interesting, like, when you see these bigger numbers for a coin like Bitcoin, 1.6 billion, and then with XRP, 93 million. Look, heart goes out to everybody, in the community or not, who is harmed by this for sure. But the only thing I was just thinking in this moment here is at least the number wasn't bigger, because if it's 93 million versus 1 billion that should be in the hands of XRP holders, it's that much worse. So the fact there wasn't that much owed in the first place compared to other coins, still a lot of money. I'm just saying, I guess it could have been worse. I mean, it's still awful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to minimize this. Nobody take me the wrong way, but in the end, Sam Bankman-Fried, I just rotten hell. Like, what a terrible monster of a human. Like, what else? Like, what else can you even say about that dude? A little butt nugget with fro, man. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.